Mr. Harmless here, and we're talking about geometry, and this is the very first lesson you're going to need to know in geometry. It has to do with just the basics of geometry, points and lines. And let's take a look at this here. This is from an old geometry book, and notice this description here of geometry. It's a study of sets of points. It's actually an amazing way to think about geometry. When you go, what is geometry? That's kind of what it is. It's how you think about a set of points. So let's start off first with a point. A point, a lot of times we think of a point as a dot. A dot is not a point, but a dot represents a point. A point is one location. We usually label a point with a capital letter. We're going to use a P just like it does in the illustration. So a point, right, can be labeled with a capital letter. If you had another point over here, this point might be point X. Okay, this might be point W. And this is the way we label these things. This point right here we would call point P. That's how you'd say it. What you'd write is just the P. You'd call it point P. Now we have lines. Now a line is a set of points. Okay. Now if you had a whole bunch of locations all lined up, going on forever in two directions, this way and this way, this is a whole bunch of points. There's a point here, and 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 there's a point here. And then in between any of these points that I pointed out, there are more points. You'll usually see a couple of points labeled on there. So let's put 2 points just like our illustration, point M and point N. Now, when you see this, if you wanted to refer to this line right here and not to a different line somewhere else, if you wanted to refer to this line, you could call it line M, N, and you put a little line over the top of it. That's how you'd write it. Now, since it doesn't matter, right, it goes this way, it goes this direction, you just need 2 points on that line, so you could also call it N, M. Now sometimes in math books they'll have a small lowercase letter, and like this one here they have a italicized L. I'm doing a little cursive L. If you see that, you could also write line L. Okay? This is 3 ways I could refer to the same exact line. So if there was a question that said, what's this line? What's its name? You could say it this way, or this way. Okay, now this line refers to all the points going on forever this way, and all the ones between it, and the 2 points that are on it. A segment, different from a line, a segment is just the points between 2 points, including those. So notice we have down here a segment, X, Y. Now, segment XY is all the points from X to Y, all the ones between them, including the X and the Y. We would label that as XY or YX. Notice no lowercase letter. If you have a lowercase letter, that's only for the line itself. What you would say would be segment XY, segment YX, right? Now, let's take a look at an example from the same book. Give 3 possible names for this line. Okay, now notice here's a line. Now there's 4 points. You would not call it line MNPQ. You could call it line MQ. Now somebody else could have said, I'm going to call it QM, and that'd be fine too. Okay? You could also call this line, now this is where it gets interesting, because the line refers to those 2 points and all the points either direction on that line. You could also call this line MN. Now if you see line MN, it's the same as line MQ. These aren't different lines, it's the same line. You just need 2 points on that line to identify that line. That means there's a whole lot of names we could do for this one. We could do MQ, QM, MN. You could call it PQ, and so on. Any 2 points on this line can name that line. You might want to write that down underneath here. Any 2 points on that line can name that line. The second question says give 3 segments contained in the line. So there's lots of segments in this line. Now if I wanted to talk about this segment right here, starting at M and going to N, I could call it MN, or I could call it NM. Now a different segment besides that one could be, let me see if I can switch colors here. Pen colors. Let's try a lighter blue. Let's say this line right here, NP. NP is a different segment than MN. And then we also have PQ. I thought it might let me go to like a green or something like that. We could call it PQ. PQ, lighter blue. PQ. That's a different segment. Now it says just give 3, that's all we would need to do, but there are other segments that are on here. Okay, I'll use my marker. What about the segment that starts at the M and goes all the way to the P? Well, guess what? I could call that segment MP. That's the segment that starts at M and goes all the way over here to P. That segment right there. So naming points, lines, segments is the 3 things we've learned here. To name a point, you just need to use that letter at that point. To name a line, you just need 2 letters, 2 points on that line. Put a little line above it with the arrows. To name a segment, you need the 2 end points, the 2 ends of that segment. List those and put a segment above it. That's how you name lines and segments. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful.